Hello. 2 people, 3 people watching. I think those of you already watching are familiar with my views, and they will know what my answer will be. I think you probably be able to predict my words and my form of argument. Is that a good thing or not? Well, yes, in a way, because the fact is that the more people who understand my way of thinking, the more people will find their thoughts going along the same path. Have you already thought, in the context of the West returning to faith, of secular Quranism? I mean, what else is there when you think about it? In her how long was it? 12-minute video. Blonde, one of the more interesting and thoughtful alt-right. Is she alt-right? Does she want to be identified with alt-right? Never mind. I guess I'm associated with the alt-right, whether I want to or not, since I mainly mix in those circles. But the point is that she is talking about a return to faith. And she said Christianity twice in her sermon, I suppose you could say. She's giving a Sunday sermon, I'm giving a Sunday sermon. A sermon is a talk on moral and religious subjects. And so we are back to politics again. They are inextricably linked. Why is faith so important? I did try to explain it. I thought I explained it so well, even though it was really in the context of displaying the unsound arguments of Church of Entropy. I think I made those interjections quite well, but unfortunately the video is now deleted, and what I was saying, I thought, so well and so briefly, in the way I inserted my views in the context of challenging propositions, is that Christianity has failed. I'm so tired of saying this, and I know you're also tired of saying that, but surely it is time for you to ask yourselves and discuss amongst yourselves whether what I say is true. And if it is true, then surely you should be addressing your minds to whether it is a problem, and if it is a problem, what you should do about it. But I suspect that you are all sweeping it under the carpet, pretending that I ain't saying what I'm saying, and that what I'm saying ain't true. Look at the churches, look at these Christian services, the Christian channels, people saying Christian, Christian, Christian. But what is the objective conclusion, the objective evidence of a living faith? It must surely be that your laws reflect its principles. And they most certainly don't. Do you know what Christian principles are? I would say they are very similar to Jewish and Islamic principles. Why do I say that? It is because at the very, very minimum that any faith does for you, it is supposed to support the practice of marriage and the institution of the family, without which no civilization will survive. Therefore, all the 5 world religions, i.e., Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism, pay lip service to the concept of virgin brides, in the sense that they all officially forbid fornication. That's what it really means to support the patriarchy. This is something people in the West choose to forget about, and I'm afraid with Hollywood and the toxicity of Western culture and the appeal of letting your hair down and everything hang out, it is very seductive indeed. So this kind of thing has gone all around the world. You can get the pill in Japan now. You can certainly get the pill in China, I think. Or failing the pill, you can easily get abortions. But anyway, in all the countries of the world, including India and supposedly Buddhist countries like Thailand, the sex capital of the world, only lip service is being paid to the concept of the traditional family. Nobody wants to make the sacrifices required to put their country, their society, back on an even keel. Indeed, they refuse to discuss it. And it is very easy to portray me as a crank when I do discuss it. You see, not even the Muslims now discuss it. They just go quiet and talk about tolerance and forgiveness and vague things like that, because they want to avoid the subject too, even though one of their religious principles is to enjoin good and forbid evil. Hello, citizen reporter. I'm glad you liked that picture. It's quite an old one. I haven't seen him for ages. I met David Irving at one of those talks that he would give in London whenever he came to town, and he would, give us a talk on whatever topic of history. And they were very entertaining. He's an excellent raconteur, and you will see it if you view his videos. So, what do you mean about Paul, citizen reporter? What Korean man do you want me to understand about Paul? Yes, David Irving was a very handsome man in his youth. Does look quite Italian in a way. He does. He is a bit grumpy now, I must say. I mean, I'm not the only one to complain about it, though I thought, for a moment he was just being the way he was being because, I was me. But he can be a bit difficult and grumpy, and other people have complained. And I mean, I can well understand that he might be a bit bitter, might be a bit angry at some of the Boers who do support him religiously. I did once have an interview with him, actually, and he kind of said, because I admitted to smoking once in my life, I could never be useful to hit him in any employment context. So he can be rather draconian in his ways of thinking. Another thing that comes to mind was the way he wouldn't talk about the First World War, because somebody else in one of his talks was saying, he was trying to talk about the First World War, and I was, in my view about the Second World War, is that it's a continuation of the First World War, and it is actually related. It is related. They are related. The First and Second World Wars are related because they were both declared by Britain against Germany for the same reasons, to keep Germany down. And it turned out to be ruinous for the British. And this is a lesson of history that all empires should note. The thing is, when you think you're about to go down, you kind of want to go down with all guns blazing, when perhaps if you were a more responsible empire, you would talk about the management of decline, which actually some civil servants in the early part of the 20th century did, because these civil servants, who were no doubt classically educated, saw the inevitability of decline. If they had a classical background, they would know that Rome declined, and no doubt they thought that the Romans did all they could to prevent decline. They changed their religion, after all, from the Roman pantheon to Christianity, but it didn't work. But let me tell you this, there is a lesson to be learned from all that. You see, the Romans declined and fell, but they could. But you have to wonder, if you look at the timeline, if you look at the chronology of events, the important point to note is that Rome fell and then Islam came about. Now, I think there's a lot in Islam that came from the Romans. Nobody wants to talk about that. I mean, it's a shame that I can only, talk to really very low-grade intellectuals, because obviously the high-grade ones are co-opted and don't want to be seen to be talking to me. David Irving is in a way, stuck up to talk about anything other than his own specialized subject. I tried to tell him that, I'm very sorry, I bought his books, but I can't read them because they're too long, and he probably considered it an insult. But that's the way people are these days. They're permanently distracted by social media, which is, I suppose, it's more like children wanting to talk in class. Children will always prefer to talk in class and listen to teacher. And I used to be one of those children, caught talking in class and punished. So that is what social media does to us. I know what it does to us and the amount of time it wastes. And that's why I want to short-circuit it, using the dialogue form of communication rather than endless shit shows that Church of Entropy loves so much because it bolsters a position. Yes, unfortunately, the only female alt-right YouTubers, and I know she'll quarrel with me about wanting to be associated with the alt-right, but I suppose birds of a feather flock together. She wants to attract that lot. If I'm honest, I'll say that, yeah, I do want to talk to those people because they are the people with the biggest problem, and I think I have the solution to their problem, and Church of Entropy is my closest and most direct rival. Therefore, the most honest way for us to compete is really to have a dialogue rather than 8-hour, 5-hour, 4-hour shit shows where nothing is said, or I am talked over when I try to say something. So, back to the Romans. Anyway, what I'm saying is that the Romans didn't have the option of converting to Islam. And Islam has a lot of wisdom that comes from the Romans, particularly the 4 sacred months, and even the throwing off gays in in Islam, well, okay, for one thing, you should know that it comes from the Talmud, and the Romans had a practice of throwing traitors off the Tarpeian Rock in Rome. So there are certain similarities. I'm not such a historian that I know exactly where these practices came from, but the point is that these executions have a certain similarity and a certain purpose. And I think we all know that Rome declined through lax sexual morality, the desecration of the institution of marriage, homosexuality. We know this by the proposal of a bachelor tax. So we know that the Romans knew that their birth rate was declining, and they could no longer produce enough enough sons to join the army, but they had lots of money, so they hired mercenaries, and the mercenaries they hired were like the mercenaries the Americans like to hire. They would like to take their time, and once you give them the weapons and the money to fight your wars with, they would just take their time, say they need more arms, more funds, and in the end not do what you want, or do it at tremendous cost. And surely you must fight your own battles with your own men, because hired mercenaries won't really care, and they would take as long as they can about it, as you would expect. So there are many lessons in the past that Americans could learn from. The British civil servants who had a classical background were aware of this. I suppose that must be why they were talking about the management of decline. The current civil servants know nothing, because there is virtually no study of the classics at all. And if you told people of what used to go on, what went on in ancient Athens, they would be shocked. They would be horrified. They would put trigger warnings all over Greek tragedies. They would censor it. I think they're doing this even now, even in Ivy League universities. So now on YouTube, only I discuss it, and I can't even discuss it now because I have vowed not to share a hangout with that repellent turd, Gandalf. I'm making this promise public, so if you catch me weakening, you should tell Jen to kick me out if she ever lets me on when Gandalf is in the hangout. She may be relieved. She may be happy that I will never trouble her again, or ever hope for a one-to-one dialogue in which so much more information in a so much more entertaining way can be produced, but she's not into the propagation of knowledge and education. She is into her cult prestige. It's all very disappointing. I guess I'll have to do it on my own and hope that somebody above me will take notice. And who are the people above me that I can think of? People like Millennial Rose, who never produces anything now because he's too afraid of losing his channel. I don't care. I was very disappointed that Jen deleted her stream because some stupid fat fuck threatened her. I had people from the deep state, or people purporting to be programmers from the deep state, threatening to take me down. Am I going to allow that threat to make me compromise my content? Have I? And what would be the point if I made everything I have said private? I would have censored myself. And what would be the good of that? Stephen James? My channel might as well be deleted. And I would have deleted it myself. So I'm not going to do that. But if everyone is looking for excuses not to talk to me, that's fine too. Because really, I have no duty to start a revolution. I only have the task of warning and advising you all. And if you are heedless and continue to ignore me and do your thing of pretending I don't exist or I am mad, then go right ahead. I think everyone will know that I have tried my best. I've asked you questions that you cannot answer, that you refuse to answer, because you know that answering my questions honestly would mean giving up your positions. And so, back to Blonde, who says, would a return to faith help? Yes, of course it would. But shouldn't she examine why Christianity has failed? Shouldn't she engage in a dialogue with me about why Christianity might have failed? I don't think she will, simply because she's not the type to do this sort of thing. She prefers to speak to some compliant beta male. She has regular shows with some young man who never opposes her, never challenges her. So really, in a way, she is. No, actually, Jen is better than her. She at least allows it for a bit, but won't go the whole hog. I go the whole hog. But I guess I'm the wrong race. I'm the wrong sex. But if I were white and male, I would have been destroyed long ago. Don't you see? If I were white and male and had a family and had a business and was doing well, they would destroy me. And you know it. And I say these things because I'm not those things. It's because I'm not a senior male politician that I do say these things. You see, senior male politicians wouldn't dare to discuss what we discuss, not even amongst themselves. I discuss it on your behalf. You should be sharing my videos. But in fact, you delete them. You delete them, Jen Shah, because you don't like how you couldn't answer my question. You don't like how it showed you up. And so you prefer shit shows that allow you to be queen bee. Who is Thailand? Oh, Thailand. Okay. Whose videos do you like? No, of course I haven't read the Chinese stuff. I can't read Chinese. Well, I could read it a while back, but I couldn't do the ancient stuff anyway. Thank you, Church of Entropy. I thought you had made it private. I'm glad you weren't so disgusting that you would delete it, so it could be revived. Now, I really want to ask you how you can give in to threats like Jay's. You know what he's done? He's implicitly threatened to dox me. But I'm not giving in to him. I'm going to make the whole point of valid and sound arguments the hill I choose to die on. And this stupid fat fuck is going to make a point of not doing it. He wants to prove you right. So let him do that. He is too stupid, pig-like. To learn about it, and I don't mind if you're right. Because he's an archetype. In the way that you, Jen, are an archetype, he is also an archetype. He is the archetype of the pleb. And if I can't move the pleb into wishing to learn a little bit more for his own education, then obviously I have utterly failed. Jen, what do you mean? In what way am I a cosmopolitan? If you think it's because I have the option of going back where I came from, then yeah, I guess I'm a cosmopolitan in that I have a country of origin. But if you think, well, what do you mean? Tell me what you mean. Citizen reporter, yes, cultural Marxism. My slogan is don't say cultural Marxism, say feminism. And then people will know what we're talking about. Because the average pleb, like the stupid fat fuck who threatened Jen, won't know what cultural Marxism is and won't care. So, in our language, if we care to do anything in this life, is to say what we mean and mean what we say and not shut up when we are threatened by stupid fat fucks like Jay. Jen, I have already told you why I don't want to do a formal debate. In fact, I told you on this stream, maybe you missed the beginning of it, and I will tell you why. Please just go back to what I said about New Labour and the new technique of instead of allowing somebody to ask a politician a question, they would take a list of 3 so that the question and the questioner loses its and his impact. So that's the effect of it in a formal debate. It's boring and people just go for the tone of it and they don't care about the arguments, which is doing a J, doing a stupid fat fuck thing, you know? I don't care about the arguments as long as the person looks good. Yeah. So you spoke more fluently, you read your speech, you did your PowerPoint presentation. People liked your voice, Jen. So they didn't care about the arguments. And that's the way Jay likes it. Jen, I couldn't send Jay the link even if I wanted to because I'm in a kind of limited state of operation. I've tried to send it to you, but it doesn't work. I sent it to Aaron, it doesn't work. I'm on a strike, so I guess what they do is allow me to stream, but not. They don't allow me to add people, invite people into my Hangout. No, Jen, you don't want to dialogue with me for the reasons that are already clear. And, you should really stand or fall by your ideas. And you don't have the confidence or the honor to do that. I always let people challenge my ideas. I don't think I've ever lost a debate. In fact, there was a video I did called Arguments I Have Lost. And I hope that people will just overwhelm me with comments saying, "Oh, Claire, what about this debate that you lost? What about that debate that you lost? You lost, you lost, you lost. And you lost because you said this and the other person said that, and that other person's argument trumped yours." But nothing of the sort. Complete silence. Well, perhaps we have God to thank. There are small mercies, such as YouTube's private listing. So it's still there. Yes, that has cheered me immensely. I hope you have the honesty, Jen, to make it public again. I have not listed any of my videos in private because any mistakes I want, I can always subsequently correct in a later video. Therefore, whatever I've said that is wrong, I can always correct that later. If I've offended anyone unfairly, I can always apologize. But to leave it out of the record would be, well, not giving it a full record. So I'm not going to do that. Yes, Jen. Jay has a stream with a stupid title about Islamic sex. He really has gone crazy. And, all yesterday he was pestering me with text messages saying, "Why do I have to learn this? Why do I have to do my homework?" And I said, "Look, it's fine. Just, you can talk about it and go through it with people in your Hangout, and then it would be educational and somebody can help you. People like Amanda, if you want female validation, she gets what I'm trying to say. But you just chose to talk shit about me." And kind of implicitly threatened to dox me. That's not going to stop me, You're not going to stop me nobody is going to stop me with any threats. I think you should take me seriously when I say that. There was nothing at all important on that stream anyway. I did actually read Conops's comment before you took it on public, before you privated it. Jen, I know when you want to delete a Hangout, when you want to delete a stream, you post the link to the Hangout in the chat, and then the Wignats raid you, and then they say things, and then you delete the stream. Or private it. It doesn't do your reputation any good. You waste people's time, you get perceived as somebody who doesn't believe in free speech. I guess that's why that's why Ovi has it in for you. When I think of the time you waste, Jen, just wasting all that time. What I'd really like is an editor, somebody who will clip the good bits, because I know it's too long. I know it's far too long. People complain. People of the older generation complain. So, yeah, it's true that maybe our streams are of no interest to anyone at all apart from those who are in it. But if we had a good editor who cared about the arguments, then we could go much further, because then it would be quite entertaining. But otherwise, it would just be sort of spurgs and really hard to listen to stuff that nobody wants to listen to anyway, because the characters are so unprepossessing and so retarded. So, very briefly, I've just been rambling for 37 minutes. Back to Blonde and her desire to keep her dignity, I suppose, by not coming to our playground of blood sports. She is, after all, a married woman, a respectable married woman. Understandably, she would care about her dignity, or her husband would. I guess. And well, that's the difficulty about politics. You can't be ladylike, and therefore it is really a man's thing. I don't care about being ladylike, so I don't care. But I do understand what it means for most women. They simply cannot bear to be insulted in that way, and anybody who cares about them cannot bear to hear the women that they love being insulted in that way. They simply cannot bear it. And I understand. But it is necessary in order to make the point. So there's nothing dignified about politics, even for men. The constant threat of public humiliation is ever present. You are not only at risk of public humiliation by your opponents, you are also at risk from those close to you, those whom you had hoped would share the same political goals. Usually it's people who share your household, your friends, your family, your associates. They are the people most in a position to know where to stick the knife in and twist it. And therefore, if you want to do politics at all, not only must you have a wife, but you must have a loyal wife. That was why the role of the political wife is so important. Discretion is crucial. But how will we get a political wife if we had any? How is a man? Well, Boris Johnson won't have a political wife. He's got some shit-stirring girlfriend. who has already got him into trouble. So he will be totally cut. Will there be a string of mysterious women going in and out of the back door of Downing Street? Will he be able to resist the sluts and whores throwing themselves at him? Probably not. So I see trouble. I see trouble ahead. I was having a discussion with a friend last night. He was talking about William Pitt, 24 years old when he became Prime Minister. Never married, but then gay, I think. He might have been considered asexual. But the point is, for men with families, with wives, they won't relish being led by a bachelor who may be gay. That is a trouble. But any man who has a wife who cannot rely on her loyalty or his children's loyalty will not be going into politics, because he knows at some level that he will be stabbed in the back. His wife will be blackmailing, either consciously or unconsciously, if he says things that she does not like. It is possible, probable, or indeed more than likely that Lord Rothermere has been compromised by his wife, Lady Rothermere, who, it is rumoured, got him to get rid of, forget his name now, the editor of the, what was his name? So much on my mind. Male editor. It's not the current one, Geordie Grieg. It's Geordie Grieg's rival. So that was a rumour. Paul Dacre. Of course it was Paul Dacre. So this is something to remember. I know this. A man would rather have peace in his home, and if he can't have peace with his wife, he will compromise for the sake of domestic harmony. I think that was what Andrea Leadsom did as well. She was supposed to go to the next stage of the leadership contest. The weekend elapsed. She said she wouldn't do it anymore, probably because her husband told her not to, because probably his business affairs couldn't withstand the spiteful scrutiny of the gutter press. And so she was told to cool it with her leadership ambitions. So I'm saying that is a problem. And I've been saying for many years now that you have to abolish no fault divorce in order to deal with this problem at the top. No male politician in a senior position is going to stick his neck out and risk his domestic life, his access to his children, his marriage for a bunch of losers, social retards, would-be terrorists who are too cowardly to even talk about abolishing no-fault divorce. Probably, well, precisely because they know they're unmarriageable and expect to die with all guns blazing, which is why we have the siege mentality, don't we, OV? So, OV, after Tuesday, you can come and talk to me about it. I'm very happy that you would be wasted as a wingnut anyway. What is the similarity between how Jay treats me with the way I treat you, Jen? Yeah, I know, Jay. I know there was nothing in it that goes against YouTube rules, but because you threatened her, stupid fat fuck, you gave her the excuse to take it down. And now I'm pointing out to her that giving in to threats is, well, it's a woman's game, isn't it? Women yield like water. If you threaten them, they will yield to you. And Jen is displaying her femininity by yielding to threats. How, OV, are Christians superior white people? Jen, I did disprove your positions. I will do a bit of work about on the transcript, which I had the foresight to save. Because if you remember, Jen, I told you not to delete it, and I knew you would. And Jay stupidly gave you the excuse. OV is to be congratulated. And I think you were right in saying what you said about Jen on Luke Ford. That Jen doesn't really believe in free speech, but what this I will give to her. She allows more free speech than anyone else. She doesn't go the whole hog like I do. But she's the next one down for me. There is such a thing as free speech, in the sense that there are parameters that define it. Therefore, I support free speech up to the point of defamation and incitement to violence and crime, which I think is fair enough. You shouldn't incite violence or crime, criminal acts on anyone, and you shouldn't defame people. So that's fair enough. But anything other than that, yeah, you can censor obscene comments, I guess. It's up to you. But I'm making a point of free speech. I'm trying to show that I understand it better and am more liberal about it than anyone else. That's probably because I'm confident of my ideas. I'm more confident of my ideas than Church of Entropy. And I know, Jen, you are using the excuse of stupid Jay's joke threat to say to private your stream with me. Why are you talking about Will? He doesn't understand anything. He justifies it with his smooth, clever words. But he's one of those people who laugh when you say, you're one of those people who think power is there to be abused, don't you? And he will laugh and agree with you. And this is the kind of people you mix with. OV says Christians are the only white people who seem to have morality, assuming they are aware of race. Yes, of course, you're right in that regard, in the sense that people who have religious principles understand the application of principles, and people who don't have a religion will have no particular principles other than that of their emotions and inclinations and their moods and their political views at that time. So obviously, religion helps center us. It creates a path through which we can navigate our way through life without falling into one extreme or the other. And that's the purpose of religion, really. And, it also helps you breed, helps you find a decent spouse, helps you produce legitimate children, helps produce a society in which your government supports marriage and family values. That is what these rules do if most people obey it. And now you can't even say you want to obey it because it means the shaming of sluts, which means the making of sacrifices. Jen says, I want my channel to be awesome, not filled with toxic garbage that makes people not want to come on. Well, what you're doing is toxic garbage. What you did yesterday, toxic garbage. And time wasting garbage. Get an editor, that's what you need. And if you had an editor, the best bits would be me talking to you. The best bits of mine would be you talking to me. But you don't care about quality. Who's Michael Stott? Some Wignat. Okay, well, the hour is up nearly. Church of Entropy says, I think the best panelist on my channel is Duvid. Well, he's great cover for you to appear not to be anti-Semitic. We know that Duvid's speciality is to talk to the alt-right, and he doesn't mind being abused and threatened while provoking anti-Semitism. He's the alt-right's favourite Jew because he's the Jew they most love to hate. And you have him on your channel. The bargain is indeed a sweet one. You offer him dominance that he can get from a shiksa, and he offers you protection from accusations of anti-Semitism. I understand these things, Jen. What do I offer you? Just a constant challenge to your ideas that you're not quite able to rebut. But then it's still quite entertaining, and your supporters still support you. There's no requirement for anyone to agree with any of our positions. They only need to find us entertaining. And by doing what we used to do, we could propagate our ideas without compromising on either of our positions. I thought that was a pretty sweet deal. And then you wouldn't have to associate yourself with repellent men like Gandalf. Who is my replacement? But that's fine, I'll just do what I have to do and take down all the people I need to take down to make my point. I will not hesitate to sacrifice any relationship I have in order to make my point. I just want to be clear on that.